Welcome to Season 6 of the Excel Still More podcast. I am your host, Chris Emerson, and I am here to encourage you in your walk with the Lord, and I'm glad you've joined. Our program continues to be sponsored by Cunningham Financial Group. John is a good friend, and he's helped me and my family in everything from stock and mutual fund investing to annuities, life insurance, and retirement planning. I certainly commend him to you. If you have needs in any of those areas, you can reach him at 205-326-7364. Thank you again for your ongoing encouragement and support. Let's get started. Hey, welcome today. It is my great pleasure to take a few minutes and talk to you about a man who passed away on Sunday named Jim Spratlin. I knew him for a year and a half, and during that time, he had a deep impact on my life. He was an incredibly impressive person, and I got the opportunity to share just a few things at his service recently, and I want to share them with you as well. He always had this way of kind of opening my eyes and moving me in the right direction, and even now, several days after his passing, he's doing exactly that. I had intended to come into the office today and talk to you about how to handle troubled people who just won't listen, people who aren't doing the right thing. What is our job in that, even as we face great frustration? And while that's important to talk about, and I may get around to it here in a week or two, it's not exactly something that fills us with joy. But after spending time with Jim's family and smiling and laughing, I just want to post something positive, something that can move you in a better direction. Instead of reaching back or down and trying to lift someone up who's resisting it with their heels dug in, what if we looked forward and ahead at someone who's doing great? Someone who, if you will let them, can be an inspiration and a new direction for you. In other words, you kind of honestly assess that you're the one that maybe isn't quite where you'd like to be. And if you'll have the right attitude, you can make some moves in the direction of this person and start seeing some pretty tremendous results. So I'll share a few things about Jim in a minute, but first, I really want to ask you a couple of questions. Can you think of someone or maybe a few people in your life who genuinely impress you? Now, before you jump in on that, let me set some parameters for it. I'm not talking about someone that you don't know or you do not have access to. We're not talking about a TV personality or someone from world history. I'm asking you to search within the parameters of people that you know who also know you. Secondly, I want you to choose someone or a small number of people who are the same gender as you. Don't be concerned too much yet on whether they're twice your age or your exact age or half your age, but let's restrict our thinking today to someone of the same gender so that they are likely endeavoring in or engaging in things that are similar to you. Like for me, someone who is a husband or a father or runs a successful business or something like that. And just to be clear, we're not just talking about people without proven character who have some special ability or voice or amount of money. I'm talking about people in your life who are truly wonderful and godly, and then may happen to have those sets of skills or abilities. And when we talk about impressive, what I'm saying is they are really, really good at something or really successful in something that means something to you. I know I'm giving you a ton of caveats and restrictions here, but just hang with me a minute. I'm not choosing someone today who is a master guitar player because I really don't think that's my thing, and I can be impressed with that, but I don't really need to engage in getting closer to them or working with them because I don't have a real interest at this point in my life in playing the guitar. No, I'm talking about picking out someone of your gender, regardless of age, who impresses you because they are really good at something or successful in something that means something to you. Probably, if you pick up what I'm laying down here, it is something in which they are doing better than you are. They are farther along than you are. They are where you want to be. Can you build out a few names that meet that description? Now, even as you think of these people that you have some sort of a personal relationship with, you may be familiar with emotions that often pop up and get in the way of any real emulation or growth or change or progress. Just let me know if any of these words ring a bell. How about jealousy? particularly if they are of the same age or near the same age as you are. Maybe we get angry because it doesn't seem fair that they are where I want to be, and they probably have gotten a lot of the breaks that I didn't get, and it's all unfair. Maybe we judge them in that way, as having a road that facilitated this outcome. It's not really their strength, it's just the way things came together. This may turn into resentment. It may cause us to question their character to make us feel like we're more on equal ground. It can lead to behavior like ignoring them or diminishing them when, if they are people of character, living in the same genre as we are and doing well, diminishing and ignoring them, even if it's just in our own minds, seems very foolish. Look, I get it. I know why all that happens. Maybe you have had a lot of things not go your way in life, and you think if mine would have been more like theirs, then it would have worked out differently, and there's probably some truth to that. Although I can almost guarantee you, as we'll talk about at the end, they have had to have some discipline in areas of challenge that you do not see. The ability to draw near to them and converse with them and follow their lead, to me, is easier when they're much older, like in the case of Jim Spratlin. I'm 45, he passed away at the age of 82. But it gets a lot harder when they are contemporaries, when it's someone who is near your age, and maybe even harder than that if they're ahead of you, quote, even though they're much younger. What I'm targeting here for just a minute is the negative side of all of this. What you should be saying is, this is great. There is someone in my life who's figured out some things that I have not. There is someone in my life who's turned a corner that I haven't been able to. There's someone who has some endurance, who's achieved some things, and they're right here in front of me. And if I would be humble enough to go to them, to listen to them, and maybe even to follow their instructions, and if they're genuinely great people, they may walk right next to you. This person is not an obstacle for me to try to knock down jealousy every time I see them. This person is a blessing from God, filled with information that I need, and I'm actually pretty fortunate that I get to know them and kind of ashamed that I've let these opportunities pass for so long. So that's the kind of attitude that we want to cultivate, and no matter who you've come up with today, I want to return to this idea that older is better. There are less competitive juices that flow when someone is 2, 3, 4 decades older than you. They have tons of wisdom, and that's a great place to start if you really want to see change in your life. I mentioned Jim Spratlin. He moved here a year and a half ago. Sadly, he passed away this last weekend from a terrible accident. We have had many conversations at worship, and we like to go to this little place called Cinco de Mayo and talk every couple of months. And I have to say, I was impressed with this gentleman nearly immediately, and certainly within just the first few conversations. It's not that he was a success and I was a failure, not that kind of a metric. It was just everything that is important to me, or at least many of the things that are true priorities in my life. He is a man 35 or so years older, and he is exactly where I want to be. And I'll be specific with you as I was with his family the other day. Number one, this man loved to talk about Jesus. He was not just a guy who goes to church. He had no interest in box checking. He wanted to talk about Christ whenever he could. He connected every facet of his life to ministry work, to sharing the name of Jesus, to proclaiming his value in this world. And look, you probably don't even know Jim, but are you impressed yet? I've only given you one thing, but it's such a beautiful quality. And later, when I got into these lunches with him, he has this long history in Christian education and shepherding, and he's been through all kinds of stuff. He didn't have some easy road where he just said the name of Jesus and everybody was excited. Like, he had all kinds of issues, from his own mistakes, we all have those, to a lot of really severe mistreatment. His challenges conditioned him to put more faith in Jesus and his grace than in mankind and their judgments. I mean, just think about that statement. That also was impressive to me, that he has used all of the wounds to see that Jesus is the only healer who will never harm you. As you might can imagine, I never turned down an opportunity to talk to him or to go to lunch. And add to that, as soon as I met him, I met the woman standing beside him. Her name is Phyllis. They were married for 60 years, and she adores him. I don't mean they're hanging in there and they love each other and their marriage is going okay. I mean, she adores this man. They are so close. They're in their 80s and they love to be together. And there's this radiance that comes off of her when she is near him. I don't have to tell you that there are far too many marriages, even in and among the Lord's people, that have nearly none of that radiance. I wanted to know more. I wanted to know how they cultivated that, specifically as I found out about all the challenges that had to do with brethren that he faced in his life. How did you two end up closer than ever through that when it could have caused problems? And he's just feeding me this information about he and his wife and the way they work together, and I'm a way better person because of it. And then the third thing, and there are probably a couple of more, but I'll keep it to 3 today. His kids, his daughters, his sons-in-law, they respect him to the highest degree. His daughter, Wendy, and her husband, Joby, worship with us, and I have never heard them say anything negative about this man. In fact, at the service, Joby said, I think he's the only person in my entire life that I've never been angry with. And as soon as he said that at the funeral, I was thinking I should have spent even more time with Jim. I should have gone out with him every week. I've got 4 kids and a son-in-law. How do you live a life that draws your kids to tell the beautiful stories that they did at your service and to have this almost reverence for the kind of father that you were? And look, he's not the only person like that. In the service the other day, I'm looking around the room and my dad is there. And Larry Sisko is in the room. And Ben Shipley. These men are impressive in their own ways. They are older. They know more. And I should be spending more time with them. And I should be listening to them. And so if you chose someone who impresses you, who is at least 20 years older than you, you have absolutely zero excuses for not spending quality time with them, asking, listening, and learning. It will mean a great deal to them, as you could imagine that it would. And we're not even focusing on that in this episode, though we probably should. This is an act of love for others, but it will make a difference for you. Now, admittedly, this gets tougher if we're talking about people our age or younger than us. This is when things like jealousy or anger or judgments come in because we just need to knock the shine off these guys so that we don't feel bad when we're around them. And let me just say, you can do that your whole life. A lot of people have gotten really, really good at it. It takes all the pressure off. You don't have to admit that you're not where you need to be. You don't have to listen. You don't have to make changes. Just make sure in your own mind this truly impressive person is not impressive by some internal figuring. And if you do a good enough job at that, you may even end up on the pedestal with them below you. I hope that all sounded super duper ridiculous, though I don't know, looking in my history, maybe in yours, it sounds a little bit too familiar. So I'll give you a little tip on this. There are a handful of guys here at the Lindale Church that are just incredible at things. Maybe I'm unique in this. I don't think so, but I genuinely get very deeply impressed with people who have abilities or skills or who have accomplished things that for whatever reason, I just have not. So there's one guy who's just always cool and collected no matter what's going on. There was another guy who has a great workout routine and is healthy and fit and active in his family. There's another guy who serves everyone, who is always there to help people move and never seems to complain about anything. There's another guy, and by the way, these are all around my age, who is so giving that he really goes above and beyond to financially help those who sometimes come around again and again. But he and a few others are also very willing to give their time, so they don't just throw $50 at it. It becomes an investment of energy to try to help people change their lives. So I've made a little progress over the years, and I guess all of those categories, but in no one of them am I where that guy is. So I hate him, especially the workout guy. He gets up at like 4 a.m. I make excuses. You know, the guy who gives away the money and the time, it's because he's got this great job and gets paid tons of money. I pass some judgment. You know, the guy who's always there with the moving truck helping people, he probably just likes the recognition. And I could go on and on with more absolute idiocy that says nothing about them and everything about me. But I don't do that. Number one, because they are glorifying God to the best of their ability, and that brings joy into my life, as I know it does for you. And two, these guys serve as role models for me, goals that have real life activity so that I can follow them and try to do better. And the tip for this is not have them out to coffee and pour out your bucket that you're jealous and you're upset and you've wasted your life and how do I be like you? I mean, there literally may be a time for that. If that's the road you need to take, then take it. But mainly, I just spend time around these guys. I just listen to them talk. I volunteer with them when I can. I try to find out the way they think, ask them some questions, listen to them talk through what they're thinking. And then I walk away and have this secret place in my mind where I take notes and I go out and I know what to pray for the next morning. I know what to journal about and I know exactly what to try. Do you think you could do that with people who are impressive in special ways in your life, even those of the same age or younger? Now, if you do this, you need to know there are a few things you're going to find and you may not like them. At least there have been times when I didn't like them. I thought maybe there'd be some shortcut, some quick fix, or maybe I could just say our personalities were different and write the thing off. But usually it came down to these three things. People who reach impressive levels genuinely and in areas that matter very often share these things in common. And I'm not just drawing them from the men that I mentioned indirectly. I actually finished listening to a podcast on self-control that Summer, my wife, she's training for a marathon, so she's out doing a lot of stuff, and she listened to this thing and sent it to me the other day, and this guy was talking about politicians and athletes and people through the years and this common thread that he found in their road to success. I won't drag it out. I'll go ahead and give you all three. Passion, discipline, and daily focus. Now, be careful with this first one because you might be like, yeah, okay, that's the thing. They have a passion for a better marriage, or they have a passion for teaching a Bible class, or they have a passion for helping others, and I just don't have that passion. Well, look, that may be true in the moment, but can we at least admit that you need it? That these are things that really matter? And getting some heart behind the activity is what fuels the activity. And I guess what I'm saying is lately I've been less interested in, I see what you're doing, give me the procedures to do it. And first, I'm a little bit more like, why are you doing this? What do you feel and think that drives this? I have long since believed that men in particular in the church have lost so much passion for the church, passion for ministry, a heart for service. That they see guys who are engaged in those things and then all the negative stuff comes up because maybe I'm not ready to first admit that my heart is yearning for other things. So the first thing I'm looking for when I'm drawing close to these people is I want to know the heart behind it, what they feel, why they feel it, how that's been cultivated, because that's going to be a great place for me to start. Point number 2, of course, is discipline. In other words, it wasn't easy. Things are a lot easier when you're passionate about them. I think about things like building my relationship with my wife. I am crazy passionate about that, but it still takes discipline to do. And especially if that passion is on a roller coaster. Discipline breaks down into stuff that maybe you're going to enjoy hearing, or maybe you're just going to look for the off button on this podcast. But throughout history, discipline and the third thing, daily focus. In other words, setting parameters to get there and making sure to give attention to those parameters every day includes some common things like morning routines, doing hard things first on any given day, and developing the strength of character to avoid temptations that derail from the progress you're trying to make. That's the thing about many people who impress you, and we don't see this unless we get close to them, but whether it's spiritual progress, relationship goals, finance, fitness, whatever it is, something contributing to that became a part of the way they think, pray, read, or behave early in the day. They prioritize doing that hard thing to make progress before other things, and they did not let temptation keep them from it. That kind of feels like a full podcast episode, doesn't it? I feel like we should do a whole episode on that. I'll do a little work and see what comes out. But in the meantime, what I'm saying is impressive people do impressive things because they do hard things. They do those hard things on a repeatable, consistent, daily basis, and they don't let easy, pointless, mindless, or certainly sinful things get in the way. If you'll make note of those 3 things, you may have something to talk about the first time you take a Jim Spratlin to lunch, or even the first time you take aside one of your peers at church to ask for advice. Better is always the result of hard, and while you may be like, yeah, Chris, duh, that's why I've not gotten where I want to be. What I'm telling you today is you've got help. By faith from God the Father and Jesus the Son and the Holy Spirit, and through prayer and through Bible study, but also through those impressive people. Thank you for joining us today. If you found value in this episode, consider sharing it with a friend. And speaking of friends, if you have any mortgage-related needs, whether you're a first-time home buyer, exploring refinancing options, or dreaming of future home ownership goals, reach out to Tyler Cain. He's a senior loan officer at Statewide Mortgage. This company is founded by a fellow believer in Louisville, Kentucky, and is dedicated to helping families achieve their dreams of home ownership. Tyler offers 20 years of expertise and dedication to guide you through every step of the process. You can find Tyler's website link in our show notes or contact him directly at 813-380-8487. And always remember, whatever you do in the name of Jesus Christ, excel still more.